So if you're a very strict, I don't even like using the word literal or literalist, because I kind of feel like literalists literally get it wrong. Um, but
Yeah, they're not literalist enough.
Exactly. I mean, I think if we take Genesis literally, we would not read it scientifically, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I argue for that is because it seems that just by a kind of plain surface reading, Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 offer quite different chronologies of what's happening during their respective creation weeks. And if you try to somehow reconcile them on scientific grounds rather than on theological grounds, you end up having to do some really elaborate gymnastics. So, on the sixth day of the week, Adam is created, and then he discovers that he's alone or he's lonely, and then all the animals have to subsequently be created and brought past him. He has to name them all, and he's immediately put back to sleep. And then Eve is created, and then he's immediately raised back up again. It starts to almost sound comically absurd. And that's, but those are the gymnastics you have to go through if you're trying to make it all fit scientifically. Mm-hmm. And I think it begs a really important question, which is, why do people feel that it must be made to work scientifically? And I think that one of the real ironies is of this kind of creationism, this kind of attempt to make Genesis speak to us in a scientific way. I think one of the great ironies is that people who are committed to that project think of themselves as opposing modern materialistic, atheistic, scientific naturalism or something like that,
sure,
right?
Sure.
But in fact, it seems like they have a very modernist kind of obsession with science. And, because we live in an age in which scientific truth is held up as being the paramount truth and the most authoritative form of knowledge in our culture, And so there seems to be a response among some Christians to therefore say, well, therefore the Bible has to be a scientific book because it has to be the highest kind of authority, right? But in a way, that's just paying homage to modern science and the power that it exercises over our worldviews.
Yeah, right.
Maybe that's not the intent of the book at all, and maybe instead of trying to make the Bible, read to answer all of our scientific questions, we should kind of readjust what we think is most important, because there are other ways of accessing truth other than through science. So,
right, and I know we're not going into the minutia per se of some of the arguments and thoughts you present, but there were things that I had never even considered from someone of your earlier perspective. So, for example, you mentioned that. Why is it that animals had sharp claws? That God created them with sharp claws. Well, it wouldn't have been for killing. It would have been for scratching tree bark. And I just, even though some of us had been raised in that literal tradition, we perhaps never even thought of the implications of that view that we would have to hold to such a position. And it would just bring about these complexities and, in some ways, absurdities. And then as you go through, you sort of lead the reader to realize, then how is God responsible for all of a sudden the animals now killing as a result of the curse? That's, I think it's just something that folks don't give credence to when they think about these important issues. And you've, in that respect, done your due diligence.
Well, that was for me kind of the pivot point, the turning point. It was when this thought kind of just dawned on me, and I don't know why I hadn't really thought about it before, but it was when it just dawned on me that whether you're a creationist who believes in, creation 6,000 years ago or something, or if you're a theistic evolutionist who believes that that everything got started 14 billion years ago, or with the Big Bang or something like that. Whichever of these positions you hold, you still have a dilemma when it comes to the theodicy problem, because the reality is right now, all around us, pervasively throughout the entire animal kingdom, we have animals preying on other animals, and animals that seem to be perfectly adapted for predation and carnivorousness. And that extends all the ways from the kind of apex predators at the top of the food chain, the lions and the sharks and things like that, right down to, almost microscopic parasites. And so the question becomes, well, how on earth did these creatures become this way? And it seems to me that you have only a very few number of options in answer to that question. And, the standard answer that people give is, well, it's because of the fall. They were, things are this way now because of Adam and Eve's rebellion and their sin, right?
Yeah.
But the question is, well, how does that solve the theodicy dilemma? How does that resolve the question of animal suffering? Because it doesn't seem that there's any direct line between human beings, eating fruit, and suddenly lions having sharp talons and canine teeth.
Yeah.
The one doesn't logically lead to the other. So there still has to be some causal explanation for the transformation. And so what is it that causes the transformation? And so at that point, you're left with, it seems to me, basically three choices. Either you can say that that God supernaturally transformed these animals, or you can say that that they were transformed supernaturally by a demonic power. The devil did it.
Okay. Yep.
Or you can say, well, they were transformed naturalistically. They evolved somehow.
Hi there, my name is Kurt Jaros. I'm an evangelical theologian, and I've come to realize that Bart Ehrman is correct.